Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining our webinar today. I can see some familiar faces, but if you're new, feel very much welcomed. I have my colleagues with me today who will be as well assisting with the presentation during our webinar. Um, so thank you everyone for joining in. So the main focus of today will be the demonstration for FarmCloud. So FarmCloud basically is a management tool used for farmers, basically for record keeping. I believe some of you already have created an account. If not, don't worry, I will attach a link whereby you'll be able to do your registration. So during this webinar, we will begin with the basic demonstration of FarmCloud. After that, I think we'll leave an open floor for everyone to ask questions that you might have, and then we'll be more than willing to address the questions. And also, you're not limited to the Q&A session. If by any chance during the presentation something might have missed you, or you'd love for it to be demonstrated again, please feel free. That's the main focus of our webinar today. And thank you so much for everyone who has joined in. So I think we'll kick in with the basic demonstration of FarmCloud, of which my colleague Peter will be the one doing the demonstrations, the basic demonstration for FarmCloud. So feel welcomed.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, my name is Peter Momo and I work with Stacy at Cinefa, where we are making complex farming simple for farmers like yourself and many other farmers around Africa. And today we are going to be showing you some of the tools we are building for you so we can help you maximize your farm's potential. So this is our monthly webinar where we usually demonstrate what we have been working on in an effort to help farmers maximize their potential and restore the glory that farming usually once had. So this is the outline of what you can expect from us today. So you have just had the introduction from Stacy, and then we are going to introduce Cinefa and the products that we offer. And then today we are focusing on FarmCloud, and we are going to go into a deep dive or a demo of the activities that you can carry out using FarmCloud to help you as a farmer maximize your farm's potential. And during each section, we are going to have a Q&A at the end so that you can have an opportunity to ask questions and you do not have to wait to the very end of the webinar, like Stacy mentioned. All right, so let's get right into it. Before we begin, here's something I want you to keep at the back of your mind. Just remember this code. It's going to be important. I hope you have captured the code. It's webinar 50. Just remember the code. All right, so what do we do at Cinefa? So farming usually was a glorified activity where farmers and many households in Africa would solely rely on farming as a source of income. But things have changed because of many factors that we are going to see. And we are not just going to accept that status quo. And at Cinefa, we decided to build the solutions to restore that glory and help Africans and for households in Africa to be able to rely on farming and agriculture like they once used to. And so at this point, we want to look at the challenges that you as a farmer and many other African farmers are facing today. And for this section, we want this webinar to be very interactive. And so we have a poll for you where we are asking you to give us your opinion on what is the biggest challenge that farmers are facing today. So there is a poll that is going to pop up on your screen. Please just take a minute and select what you think is the biggest challenge that farmers are facing today. Don't think too much about it. Just go with the first one that comes to mind. What are you as a farmer facing as the biggest challenge? Okay, the answers are coming in. Stacy, are you able to see the results?
Yes, absolutely. I can see the biggest challenge that farmers are facing. According to the poll, there are two which are tying. We have limited access to capital and we have unpredictable markets. And last being access to quality input and expert advisory.
Great, great. So I think we are all in agreement on the challenges that we are facing as farmers today. And in fact, all these challenges are contributing more or less equally to the challenges that farmers face today. And we are going to go through all of them and show you how as Cinefa we are trying to solve these problems. We might not be able to solve all of them, but we are very determined to solve them one at a time and to give farmers a comprehensive solution. So we have climate change and unpredictable weather. We also have unpredictable markets. If you're not able to obtain a market for your goods, then as a farmer, you will not be able to reap any benefits from your activities. Then we also have poor access to capital, and we have a lack of access to quality inputs and expert advice. And we are also facing decrease in land sizes as well as soil erosion. So the question now becomes, how is Cinefa solving these problems for farmers? And this is how we are doing it. So we believe that technology can be very revolutionary for many sectors, and we have picked agriculture as our main focus. So for agriculture, we are building the hardware and software tools for farmers to use to maximize their farm's potential. And these are our two flagship products. So we have Farm Shield, which if you would like to learn more about, if you haven't heard about it yet, you will get to see details on our website, and you can also reach directly to us through our website live chat. But the focus of today's webinar is going to be FarmCloud, which is a comprehensive farm management software. So on the software end, we have FarmCloud, and on the hardware end, we have FarmShield. So today we are going to dive deep into how FarmCloud can be utilized by you as a farmer to improve your production and increase your efficiency. And if you would like to learn more about FarmShield, as I mentioned, you can just visit our website and you will find out the information you need, as well as reaching out directly to us, and we will be able to provide all the information you need. Okay, so without wasting much time, we are just going to jump into FarmCloud. So what can FarmCloud do for you as a farmer? So the first thing is it allows you to track your farm activities from beginning to end, including planting, including workers, everything that happens on your farm. You get one software where you can manage all that. The second thing is inventory management, where you are able to manage your fertilizer, your agrochemicals, all the inputs that you need for your farming activities. You can manage them from FarmCloud. We also have staff management, where you add users to your FarmCloud, and these users are doing activities across your farms and they log them. Then we also have tracking of income and expenses. So we want to inform you at every step of the plant journey, whether you are projecting to make a profit or a loss, by helping you track how much you're spending and what you expect to earn. Then we also provide you with real-time weather data to help you with decision making when you're carrying out your farm activities. And the weather data includes historical as well as forecast weather data. Besides that, we provide your soil health data, which also helps you make more informed decisions. And we go an extra mile and provide you with real-time satellite imagery that gives you information about your crop health across your farm, no matter how big. So whether you can walk your farm in a matter of a few minutes or hours, or it takes days, the satellite just makes that easy by giving you images from which you can analyze and know what's happening. All right. So hope we are together up to this point, and we are now getting into the exciting part, and we are going to jump straight into the FarmCloud demo. All right. So hope we are together up to this point and that you are learning a lot about what Cinefa is doing to solve the problems you're facing as a farmer today. And now I am going to show you how to access FarmCloud and give you a demo of what FarmCloud can do for you. So to access FarmCloud, you visit our website, cinefa.io, and you can click on this link, login to FarmCloud. So when you click on login to FarmCloud, you are redirected to a page where you can access our FarmCloud platform. And the first page you get to see is the sign up page. So here, if you are a new user, you will just provide us with your basic details, after which you will be able to add your farm to the system. And from there, you'll be able to manage your farm activities. So I already have a farm, so I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. So when you sign up, you will be able to sign in as I am going to do. When you sign in, you land on the FarmCloud dashboard. So on the FarmCloud dashboard, we give you a very quick overview of what's happening across your farm just by a single glance. So you can see the current weather status of your farm, that is the temperature, the cloud coverage, the wind speed, as well as the humidity. You also get to see how many employees you have, how many crops are currently in production on your different farm elements. You can see how much you have harvested. You get to see all the farm elements that you have. That is the greenhouses, the open fields, shade nets, and all that. You also get to see your financial summary. So as I mentioned, FarmCloud allows you to track your income and expenses to be able to gauge whether you are on track for profit or a loss. And then you get to see a weekly work report. So this is a summary of all the activities that have been happening on your farm. As you can see here, our farm has had 2 agrochemical applications this week, and there has been 1 harvest. And here we also get to see which plant is currently under production. So from the summary, when you are a new user, you're not going to have these details yet because you need to create the farm elements. So what do you do when you're a new user and you've just landed on the FarmCloud dashboard? You head over to Farm Assets, and then you go to Farm Elements. So you are a farmer, assuming you already have a farm. So the first thing you need as a farmer is a piece of land, of course, where you're going to be carrying out your activities. Then when you have a farm, there you are going to subdivide it into different sections. So you will have your greenhouses, you can have a screen house, you can have a shade net, and you can also have open fields. So when you are a new user and you have just landed on the FarmCloud dashboard and you head over to Farm Assets, you get to add all these farm elements. So the greenhouse, the screen house. I am not going to add them at the moment, but I'm going to demonstrate how to add an open field. And the workflow is the same for adding greenhouses, shade nets, or open fields. So I'm going to add an open field. So I click on add block, and then I give it a block. I give it a name. So I can call it Sukuma Wiki. And block size, I'm just going to give it a half because it's been added today, and I click on add. So I have added now that section on my farm, as you can see it here. So I've added this section, and now I can go ahead and start managing the activities that happen on that particular section of my farm. So the first thing, of course, I do is add a plant. So we are preparing our farm for planting. So I'm going to add a plant and pick Sukuma Wiki. And then I'm going to pick the variety that I am planting. Here I get to add the quantity of seedlings or seeds that I am adding. So I go with seedlings, and I will go with 200. This is just for demo purposes. And then I will pick today as the planting start date, and I will project my harvest in terms of kgs to be probably, just for demo purposes, I'll just say 100 kgs. Okay. We have a hand from John Sudi.
Yes, Peter.
Yes.
My hand is up to ask about the block.
Okay.
Does the block mean I'm referring to the whole farm size or a specific size within the
Yes.
farm?
The block means that you are referring to a specific section of the farm. So for example, we just added a Sukuma Wiki block. So here we are just referring to that specific section where we are planting Sukuma Wiki.
All right. All right. Great.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
All right, so we shall proceed, and we've just added our plant, the Sukuma Wiki. And now, given any plant, whether it's Sukuma Wiki or maize or tomatoes, there are inputs that you need to manage the plant from planting all the way to harvesting. And on FarmCloud, we allow you to track that as well. So from the farm elements section, we go to the fertilizer and agrochemicals section. In this section, this is where now you get to add the inputs that you are going to need to manage that crop systematically from the time you plant to the time you harvest, to make sure that you get the best harvest from your plant. So you are able to add fertilizers. So I'm just going to go ahead and add one. So I'll just pick any, not necessarily one that is used for Sukuma Wiki, because this is just for demo purposes. You get to select the supplier. So I'm going to select Cinefa. And so the suppliers you see here are suppliers that we have looked at as Cinefa and are trusting that these suppliers provide the best quality inputs for you to be able to get the best harvests. So in case you are adding something like a fertilizer or agrochemical and you cannot find the supplier you bought it from here, you can always select other, and you can always reach out to us and request us to add that supplier to the FarmCloud system. So today we are going with Cinefa, and for the quantity, we are going to select in liters. I'm not sure if foliar cure goes in liters, but allow me to just select liters. And then I can set a minimum amount where if my stock goes below this particular amount, I get an alert that lets me know early in advance to restock. And I also get to add how much I spend on this so that I can track my expenses. Okay, sorry for that. Allow me to reshare my screen. Apologies for that. Okay. Okay, I hope my screen is clearly visible to everyone, and we can proceed. So we were adding fertilizer to our inventory stock so that we can track this as we are applying the fertilizer to our different plants. We get to see how much fertilizer was spent on which crop. And we get to do the same with agrochemicals. The workflow is the same. So far, we have our piece of land that we have subdivided into different sections. We have greenhouses in some sections, we have screen houses, and we have open fields. We have added a plant to our open field for Sukuma Wiki, and we have added the inputs that we need to manage our Sukuma Wiki to harvesting to the inventory. So what do? We head over to daily work reports. So in this section, this is where now we get to manage the plant journey. So you have planted your Sukuma Wiki. At some point, you're going to need to apply fertilizer. You could be the one applying the fertilizer, or it could be a farm worker that you have added to the system. They will be able to create that report here. So I am going to demonstrate how to create a fertilizer report, but it's going to be a representative of all the other reports, including agrochemicals. So we select which part of the farm are we adding this fertilizer to. It's the Sukuma Wiki section that we created earlier, and the plant variety was collards. At what stage? We're just going to select planting stage, but you can select flowering, fruiting, as well as harvesting, depending at which point you're applying the fertilizer. So the fertilizer we picked was foliar cure, and we select the date when we are applying, which is today. And we also get to select the time. So we are very serious about the data. So we want to have all the details to the very, very minimum detail. And then we apply the quantity. So we're just going to go with 2 kgs, and we select our application method, which we can see. We select our application method. I'm just going to say direct application and then add. So we have added that farm report, and we can see it here that on this particular day, this particular farm worker applied this much of this fertilizer to this section of the farm, to this plant, using this method. So we capture all the necessary information. And if we head back to our inventory and we look at fertilizers, we can see here, foliar cure, we had added 10 kgs. Now we can see that the quantity has automatically been updated to 8 kgs because we applied 2 kgs to our Sukuma Wiki. Now going back to our daily work reports, so we can add reports for fertilizers, agrochemicals, scouting. When it comes to scouting, so as a farmer or as a farm worker, you inspect your plants every so often, and you might be inspecting and notice something out of consistency, something that is not normal. So maybe it's a pest, maybe the leaves are turning yellow. So you need to take note of that. And you take note of that by creating a farm report, a scouting report. So you select the farm element, which our farm element is Sukuma Wiki, the plant variety, the stage at which you observed this. So we can say we observed this at the harvesting stage, perhaps. You get to select the date that you observed this, and you record here. You record a description of the observation. So I'm just going to say yellowing of leaves. And then you have the option of uploading a supporting image to provide evidence of what you observed. And then you click add, and you can see that the scouting report has been added. So other reports that you can create include manual irrigation, pre-harvest, as well as harvest reports. And for any other report that we have not covered in these first 6 reports, you can always add it to other section. So for any other report that has not been covered, perhaps you have a plant which involves steps that have not been captured here. Perhaps it's desuckering, then you can come and create that report here. The format is the same and the workflow is the same. So that's a lot of talking from my hand. And now we would like to open the floor to some questions regarding what I have covered, which is our farm elements, our inventory management, and our daily work reports. So please feel free to ask any questions, and we'll also get to hear from my colleagues if there are questions that have been asked in Q&A, and we can address them.
So actually, Peter, there are no questions on the Q&A section, but I can see John has his hand raised. So just a minute, John.
Okay, thank you, Stacy and Peter. I think my scenario is such that I was transitioning from just a small school garden where we were doing things just anyhow without any expert advice to the stage I have reached now where my half-acre farm has a mechanized irrigation, drip irrigation, and we've discovered FarmCloud, and we are beginning to do everything properly. But we have already created our beds and ridges in a particular way. And we have also planted crops in like the first 7 beds are cabbage. Then from bed 8 to 11 is lettuce. But as they were planting the lettuce, they added some garden eggs. So my farm is not clearly demarcated in sections that I can identify for specific crops. So my entries into the system has become a little much of work. But I hope now that I'm understanding management, even of the farm space and everything, our next preparation of the space will go in a better way. However, in the meantime, I'm asking, can I call the beds that have cabbage as cabbage block A? Because I have another set of cabbage on bed 42, then I can call that cabbage block B and replicate the same for other plants. Would that still be a good approach to help you understand what I'm doing?
Okay, John, thank you for the question and thank you for giving us a good overview of the experience you've had so far. To answer the question, yes, that is actually the approach that we would recommend. It would allow you to be able to manage each section separately, making sure that you are tracking everything that is happening at each separate section. And this also allows you, for example, on bed 1 to 7, perhaps you have a different type of cabbage, and on bed 42, you have a different type of cabbage. So you get to add both sections separately, and you get to manage the plant journeys for the different beds separately. And this way you can keep everything well clear, and you know what is happening on this section and what is happening on the other section. I hope that answers your question, John. Yes, John, go ahead.
Yes, my question is answered. I understand that perfectly, and I think I agree.
Great, great. All right, so I will hand over to Stacy to check if there are any more questions, and if not, she will hand over to our colleague who will take us through the next section.
So thank you, everyone. So actually on the Q&A section, there are no questions. I think I can leave the floor open just for a minute or two. If there are any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll be more than willing to address them. I think for now, I'll just go ahead and welcome my colleague Victorine, who's going to cover the next topic. And as we proceed, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have. We are more than willing to to answer, and I hope we are together up until where we've reached. So yeah, I'll let Victorine handle it from here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victorine Amani, as you've heard. I hope you're doing well and enjoying the presentation so far. So I'd also like to thank my colleague for the great insights on the other features of the farm management platform, which is FarmCloud. So I will be taking you through farm staff management and your expense management, which is very exciting because everyone loves money. So starting off with our farm staff management, I hope everyone can see my screen. Once you've accessed FarmCloud and you are in the system, as Peter has showed you, what you will do is, for those of you who have like more than one employee in your farm, probably you have farm hands, you have a farm manager, maybe you're not actively involved in the farming processes, you are capable of adding more than one farm hand in your system. So step number one is, again, you've logged in, you're in FarmCloud, move to the farm staff section and invite staff. Select the button, invite staff. Can you hear me now? Cool. So if you want to invite a staff, what happens is you will have to subscribe first to either one of our packages. For those in the free tier, you're allowed to have one staff, which is you in this case, and one farm. But for those of you who have more than one farm, or you have staff under you, you'll be required to subscribe to a single tier, either one of your choosing that works out for you. So let's do just that. I'll subscribe. Due to security reasons, I will not display this section of the presentation because, again,
So for the meantime, Victoria is experiencing some slight technical issues as we wait for her to fix the issue on her end. At least let this session during this time for questions, at least any questions anyone might have, or you'd love for us to redo any demonstrations that we've done, we can at least try and accommodate that at the end of the session. So yeah, please feel free to ask a question. If there are no questions, at least everyone to give me a thumbs up if they're okay. Okay, I see John is raising his hand. Just a minute.
Okay, thank you, Stacy, once
You're
again.
welcome.
Yes. My little challenge has to do with the number of suppliers in my country that are not on your drop list.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
also crops that even aubergine is not on your drop list of crops.
Okay. Okay, well understood, John. So
Yes.
actually, we have an open floor whereby there's a Google Sheet we can share with you,
Okay.
whereby you can add the specific crops and suppliers as well, also agrochemicals and fertilizers. So,
I think
uh-huh,
I have looked at that form.
okay.
I think Taita sent it to me,
Mm-hmm.
but you expect me to fill in details that I don't have the knowledge to fill.
Okay. Okay, no pressure about that. So even if you don't have the other information, I believe there's a description bit. There's also
Okay.
a section for the length, the planting period. But don't worry,
Okay.
you can just attach the specific plant you want,
All
and then
right.
you can leave the other bit to us. We will
Okay.
ensure we fill in the other
Okay.
information. Yeah.
That'll be good.
So
That'll be good.
yes, so may it be suppliers, agrochemicals, or a plant, feel free
Yeah.
to add, and then we will definitely add the add-ons for you.
Okay. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, so I believe the technical issue has been fully resolved. So Victorine will proceed from here.
Hello, everyone. Apologies for that. So, as I was saying, the first step of inviting farm staff is you'll access the link from the sidebar, access farm staff, then click on the button invite staff. In this case, you will enter the email address of your specific employee or staff, then give them a role in your farm. If it's the farm manager, this is the person that oversees everything that happens in the farm, please do so. If it's a farm worker, then do the same. So I can send an invite. Once the invite has been sent, you can see here we have invited users. When your farm worker or manager decides to accept your invitation, they will become, their status will change from pending to active. I hope that is understood up until that point. So again, maybe I might try and recap because of the technical issues. There was a bit of breakage in terms of the flow. So farm management, again, as I said, you have farm staff under you. You have farm hands, people who come to harvest the crops, people who handle the daily digging, the daily application of fertilizers. So if you want to manage every single person that works in your farm, probably you're not actively involved, but you want to see what's going on, you can invite them here and see every single activity that every farm staff partakes in terms of when they're using FarmCloud. That's pretty much it in terms of that section. I will move on to our expenses. Let's talk about money. So under the expense section, we have two categories, general and element specific. For general expenses, these are any expense that does not directly affect a specific plant or a specific section. So this could be utilities, like you're paying lease or rent, or you're paying your farm staff salaries. This comes in at that point. Any general expense that goes into your farm that probably is recurring or does not affect a specific plot of land, that goes in under general expenses. For element-specific expense, as my colleague had mentioned earlier, elements are any section where farming is actively happening. So it could be a structure or it could be an open block, whichever works for you. So so in this case, for element-specific, you'll come and specify which element is this expense actually going to. So it could be you've bought for our friend who said that he's currently doing cabbage farming. So let's say you've bought the necessary seeds that you need for that. You'll come and say for this specific expense, maybe I bought seeds and seedlings. Then I come and say I bought it for my John block, and I specify what variety of seed did I buy. Then I'll select my supplier. We currently have a list of famous suppliers or common suppliers around your area. So you'll select one that applies to you. Then the date of this specific expense, the cost, the amount of money you paid for it, and just to track your expenses and to make sure that everything that you do is traceable, you will be asked to attach a receipt or a screenshot of the transaction. So in this case, let's say it's your farm hand or it's your farm worker who did the purchase, and you want to verify that the purchase actually happened, they will be forced to attach any relevant documentation that might affect the same. So let's say we bought seed and seedlings for 2,000 Kenya shillings. I paid in cash, and let me attach relevant documentation. Right here, I bought seedlings for cabbages. Then you'll add your expense. I'll draw your attention to the right end of the list. As you can see, any expense added is usually in the pending status. Once the farm owner, which is you in this case, has approved the specific expense, then it will be added to your totals. But until then, it will not be added. So you can come review, you can come and review your expense, see if it makes sense, see if everything is as it should be. If it is, then you'll come and approve your expense and it will be added to your total. As you can see up here, the numbers have changed. For the general expense, it's basically the same thing, just that in this case, you will not attach it to a farm element or to a plant. This, as from the list, you can see these are mostly electricity bills, water bills, anything that goes into your farm that is probably a recurring cost or is not attached to a specific plant goes under this. And again, the same process applies to element specific, applies to general. At the top here, you have our little figures. So what does this mean? Here we have total expenses in terms of like everything you've spent, all summed up together. And then you have general on the side and farm element on the side. I'd say that's pretty much it. I mean, to allow you to track, we are giving you the chance to go through, to track your expenses, to track your farm in every single aspect. My colleague added your plant, he added your block, you've come, you've done your specific purchases. You know that every single cent that goes into my farm, I can trace back to the first bulb that I removed. It's not, I have to go look for my receipts in some coat that I left somewhere, probably to go to washed or rained on. Here, you have data security. You make sure that it allows you to come back at any point in time to cross-check any discrepancy that you might have or any problem that you might have. Everything is here at easily accessible. I think I'll end it there unless there's any question or clarification that you might have. That's it from me.
Okay, thank you so much, Victorine, for that elaborate explanation on farm staff and expenses. So we have one section that we need to tackle as well, which is weather and satellite. So I'm going to hand over back to Peter for him to take us through weather and satellite.
Hello, hello. I hope we are still together, and I hope this session is as much fun for you as it is for us. And I hope you are learning a lot from us. So I'm going to reshare my screen. In just a moment, I will reshare my screen so that we can go over weather and satellite data, which is a very exciting section that we recently added to FarmCloud to give you all the information that you need as a farmer to be able to get the best from your farm. But before I go into weather and satellite data, you're probably asking yourself, why should I bother to create these reports? Why should I bother to use FarmCloud for my farm activity management? Yes, I mean, this is an overhead added to all these other activities that you have to do on your farm. Farming is a full-time activity. Farmers are the earliest to wake up and they are the last to go to bed. So why should they then spend time recording activities of what they did all throughout the day? And here are the benefits that you get by tracking your farm activities. So as we were looking at the challenges that farmers are facing today, there were two challenges of access to capital and access to market. So it is my hope that all the attendees here, by virtue of attending this webinar, you are very intentional about your farming and you have big dreams. So you would like to access the best of markets, which includes exporting. And to be able to access these premium markets, when you sell to these buyers, they will not just take your word for it when you tell them that your product is of high quality. Excuse. So when you go to these buyers, they will need to see evidence that you have followed the industry standards and the set out standards that they have also set for themselves, that this is the quality of product they will buy, and this is the evidence that they will use to know that the product was grown under those specific standards. So they are going to ask you for something called a traceability report, which I'm sure you all know about. So by recording all your farm activities, you will be able to easily generate a traceability report and provide to your buyers, giving them evidence that you have grown your crops using the best of practices, and that way they can trust and be able to buy their products from you. On the second bit, with access to capital, when you go to financial institutions, they probably ask you for collateral. And what happens when you do not have collateral? How can you convince them that you are a very serious farmer? And when they give you finances, you're going to put them to the best use. And you are going to not only enhance your farming activities, but also make a return for their investment in you as a farmer. That is by providing your historical records, right? And you're not going to carry 10 notebooks and telling them, I am a farmer, I have been writing down everything I do in this notebook. They will need something that is electronic. And in today's age, everything is technology driven. So by using Cinefa's FarmCloud system and recording your farm activities, you will be able to provide all the records that a financial institution may ask of you so that they are able to provide financing to you. All right, now we can dive into weather and satellites, which is a very exciting feature. So as a farmer, you are tracking all your activities, and as Cinefa, we want to enable you to be able to do the best, to provide the best produce in the country, in the continent, for the best markets. And how do you do that? Today's crude oil is data, as we all know. And climate change has brought about unpredictability of weather, which makes it very difficult as a farmer to be sure what's going to happen tomorrow. So gone are the days when someone would say, hii jua ni ya mvua, and tomorrow it rains. So for those who do not speak Swahili, that basically is to say the hot sun is an indication of rain that will come tomorrow. That used to happen long ago, but that is no longer the case today. So how can we help you as Cinefa to be sure that when you say that tomorrow you're going to expect rain, then you're going to expect rain, is by giving you access to weather and satellite data that shows historical data that you can rely on to predict what will happen. But beyond that, since your predictions may be faulty, we also give you predictive data as well. So when you come to the weather and satellite section, you get to see all your blocks on the farm. And this section applies to open fields because we are using satellite data and it needs to be able to see your field from the sky. And so this happens to open fields. And for example, in a greenhouse, you have a controlled weather, you have a controlled climate. In that particular scenario, you do not necessarily need a satellite to be telling you what's happening. Our device, FarmShield, which I told you can learn more about on our website, is going to give you all those insights. But when it comes to your open field, how do you find that out? So we provide you with satellite and weather data. So when you come to this section, you select the block. So when you select a block, you can see a boundary here that has been drawn around a block. And that is what the satellite uses to determine the data that it should provide to you. So in this demonstration block, we can see that the current weather, it's 31 degrees Celsius hot, and there is light rain. And we can see the size of our block. We also get to see the soil data, the temperature at the top and the temperature at 10 centimeters, as well as the soil moisture. So how does this help you as a farmer? For example, we have light rain. So if you were planning to irrigate in the evening, assuming that you're using manual irrigation, you can skip the irrigation because there's light rain that has probably provided enough water for the soil and for your plants. Looking at the soil moisture, you also get to be informed whether your soil is too dry or your soil has enough moisture for your plants, and that way you're able to make more informed decisions. So besides the current real-time weather data, you get to see a forecast, and the forecast can be hourly, daily, and besides that, you also get to see the historical weather. So looking at the hourly forecast, this is how you would read this graph. So the orange line is showing you the maximum temperature. So today, the time right now is 4 p.m. local Kenyan time, and this is showing you a forecast all the way to 3 tomorrow. So based on this, if you are planning perhaps to plant in the morning, you can make a decision whether if you plant, your seedlings are going to be affected by the temperature as well as the precipitation. So for the precipitation, the higher the line, the more the rain. The lower the line, the less the rain. Same for temperature. The higher the line, the higher the temperature. The lower it is, the lower the temperature. So we have a hand from Sarah. Okay, so we can proceed. So that's the hourly forecast, but I believe the more informative one to you as a farmer is the daily forecast. So this, our FarmCloud system gives you 5 days weather forecasts. And how does this help you? Say you would like to apply fertilizer in the next 3 days, but you are not sure if it's going to rain. Maybe if it rains, the fertilizer will be washed away before it has the right effect on your crops. So looking at this weather forecast, you can see that in 3 days, on the 30th of September, it's going to be quite rainy. You're going to receive 3 millimeters of rain. So you might postpone the application of the fertilizer perhaps to the 1st of October or the 2nd of October, because you have enough data here forecasting that there is going to be less rain on the 1st and 2nd of October as compared to the 30th. So what we are trying to do here as CINEFA is give you as much information as possible as a farmer to enable you to make data-driven decisions, because this is the age when we can no longer predict how the weather pattern is going to be tomorrow just based on how it was last year or a few years back because of climate change. So putting this weather data right into your hands helps you make the best decisions. Now, besides the weather data, we have satellite data. The satellite data, the biggest advantage of having satellite data is that it tells you about your crop's health. And the main thing that satellite data monitors is usually the plant health by monitoring how green your plants are. So the main measurement that we usually provide is the NDVI, which usually indicates how green your plants are. The higher the value, the more green they are, and the happier you are as a farmer, because that is indicative of a very good harvest. But a lesser value indicates that your plants are lesser green, which means there is probably a problem, which could be an indication of maybe lack of water or probably lack of a particular nutrient. It could also be indicative of a particular section on the farm has been attacked by pests, and that's why you are seeing less foliage on that particular section. And now as a farmer, you can make a better decision to go and inspect that particular section, especially if you have a very large farm that you cannot inspect each and every single day. Here we will give you the satellite imagery that will let you know which sections you need to give more attention to, and in which scenarios you may need to seek expert advisory on. So we also have a graph for the satellite data, but this only shows you historical data. So we are not able to predict the foliage tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow you are harvesting, right? And based on the current data, we tell you that it's going to be all green for next week. That is something we are not able to do at the moment. So what we provide you with is historical data that goes to inform your decision even further. So you have observed that a particular section on your farm is less green, right? You can look at the historical data and see if there has been a trend that the greenery has been dropping day by day. And that way you can make a decision whether this is indicative of something much bigger that might go on to affect bigger sections of the farm, or it's just something that has just appeared the day before or just a week before. Having all that information at your fingertips as a farmer, we believe is going to help you make better decisions and manage your farm even much better. So we also have other indices that we provide from the satellite data. So for example, we have DSWI index, which indicates how much water there is in your plants as well as your soil. And that also tells you the health of your farm. So all these indices go to inform you to make sure that the decision that you are making as a farmer is not based on just a single data point, but several data points. So allow me to just go over all the indices and tell you what each indicates. So starting with NDVI, as I mentioned, NDVI indicates how green or healthy the vegetation is. The DSWI indicates how much water there is in your plants or soil. Let's go to NDWI, which is also indicative of water. So the NDWI measures the water content in the plants and soil as well. And that can be used to monitor drought conditions as well as crop water stress and how available are water resources to your plants, right? Now going to EVI. So what does EVI mean? EVI is similar to NDVI. It also indicates how green your plants are, and it's better suited for areas where we have dense vegetation. So it's able to get around the challenge of cloudy weather, for example, when the image was taken, and it gives you an indication of how green your farm is. Same thing goes for EVI2 and NRI. So NRI indicates just a moment. So, okay, so NRI combines NDVI, and it also goes to indicate how healthy your plants are. And you can find information about all these indices and what they indicate, because I am pretty sure right now it's not possible for you to just cram everything that I am telling you about what the different indices indicate. And even for ourselves, sometimes it's also difficult to remember what the indices mean. But we have provided resources on our website that will inform you as a farmer what the indices mean and what the figures you're looking at on your FarmCloud indicate, and what action you may need to take to make sure that you are managing your farm to the best of your knowledge with the best data for the best production, and hence the best markets and fetching of the best profits from the market. So that will be all. And now we are going to open the floor for questions. And we are looking forward to this interactive section, which we have set aside specifically just to address all the questions that you have for us.
Okay, so thank you so much, Peter, for that elaborate explanation on weather and satellite and how it can enhance farming for farmers. So on the Q&A section, I'm not seeing any questions, but rather I'd love, by a show of hand kindly, I'd love to know from the participants, how many of you are using FarmCloud? Okay, I can see John has raised his hand, so we can probably give him the chance to speak, and then we'll proceed with how many of you are currently using FarmCloud.
Okay, this is a quick one to Victorine, if she's still on listening. I'm a one owner and one worker for my farm now. I have not added any worker yet or a farm manager yet. If I add my expenses and it's still pending, how do I approve it?
Hello, John. That's a good question.
Yes.
I can just share my screen and demonstrate the same. So in this case, if you're doing a solo mission, as you are, when you add an expense, what happens is, okay, let's just go ahead and do the entire process. Let's say it's electricity. Our supplier is, I don't know, ETG, let's say in that case. We paid it yesterday. Paid in cash. Let me attach a receipt. And then a brief description. When you add the expense, as you can see, it's still pending, but here at the end, there are two icons, one a tick and another an X. If you highlight it, one shows you approve expense, the other shows you reject expense. So for you, all you will do is go ahead and mark the tick and your expense will be approved.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, thank you so much, John, for that.
Yes.
So I've just posed the question to everyone on the chat. If you are using FarmCloud, kindly respond with FarmCloud. If you are not using FarmCloud, kindly respond with Cinefa. And for the meantime, if anyone has a question, feel free to let us know so that we can give you the chance to speak. Okay, I can see Sami Dambuki is using FarmCloud. Thank you. We also have Joseph, John as well. Okay, so rather I can give Joseph Mutahi the chance to tell her to give us comments rather on what they feel about the platform since they started using it. We'd love to hear your insights as well. Joseph, if you're not comfortable speaking, you can just feel free to throw in a chat as well. That's okay. Matt has also mentioned that they're not using FarmCloud. No need to worry. We have the link for registration attached on the chat. Please feel free to do the registration there. And in case you experience any difficulties, feel free to let us know. We'll be more than willing to help you. Okay, let me unmute you. John Ibrahim as well has a question. Let's give Joseph the chance, and then John Ibrahim, you'll speak after Joseph.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, all right, cool. Yeah. I've been trying to post data. I've been behind what my target is because I have data on another spreadsheet which I use as a tracker for both my expenses and income. The thing is, what I've realized is I need to switch up to the premium because I do multiple crops on multiple blocks. So that's now I've seen the webinar 50 discount. I'm definitely going to be signing up hopefully by Monday. And I plug in more data that's going to become more useful for me as well. What I had a question was, there was an intent to have the planning module. So if I create, say, block A, block B, block C, and I want to do maybe different crops that I can be able to draw up an agronomy program for from nursery to harvest or continued harvest. Has that been activated or has that come into play?
So actually, Joseph, that
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
yeah, so actually, Joseph, that is still in development. Let me just give our CTO the chance to proceed with that question. Just a minute, please.
Yeah, the cost. Yes.
Hello. Sorry, what was the question?
The question is, there was a plan to introduce the agronomy program planning, yeah? So I can create a calendar first. So say I have maybe 10 acres as an example, or maybe 30 or 40 acres. I want to create an agronomy plan for the multiple fields in my farm so that I can synchronize outputs to minimize any gaps for produce to the market. And so I can also be able to build up more or less what you can say a projected cash flow for both inputs, and also try and estimate what the output is and maybe peg in a possible price to see how I can plan my capital, working capital, but also maybe even investment in other farm equipment, but also maybe even irrigation systems. But the most important thing is, when are you launching the agronomy planning module within the FarmCloud platform?
So by agronomy planning, you mean for a specific crop, you come up with a sort of a schedule in terms of what is going to go into that plant during the season, the whole season?
Yeah. Yes, from nursery all the way to harvest and continued harvest as well, yeah.
Oh, okay. So for that bit of feature, we are currently improving on our daily work reports, and that should happen around the second quarter of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the timeline for that.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. At least with this, we'll be able to dig in more and more in terms of building up the data, which can give us some history. We can use that historical data to be able to maybe have better inputs into that planning module once it comes to life. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. Welcome.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Joseph, and kudos to you for taking advantage of the coupon we have during our webinars. Probably, but I'd love to confirm if you might have any other inquiries that you'd love to be addressed, or you're fully satisfied.
For now, I'm happy. Once I plug into the premium, or rather the paid, whether it's a silver going up, I'll definitely reach out to you. My office is not too far from your office. Maybe I could see it from here, but almost walk there. But yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you as well for participating. So I can see that John Abraham is raising his hand, so we'll give him a chance to say something as well.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, John.
Thank you. I'm attending the webinar from Zambia, Eastern Province of Zambia.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. I was digging into FarmCloud just to appreciate what content I can benefit from there. And I must commend you for putting up such services to attend to farmers' needs. I know we are located in different parts of Africa altogether, and our weather pattern also varies from place to place. What I want to find out is, in terms of the weather, does the program allow for issues to do with early warnings in terms of extreme weather, either flash floods or even droughts, so that it can properly inform farmers on how to plan for any particular season in which they are going to be producing. Thank you.
Hi, John. Thank you for your question, and thank you for joining our webinar. Yeah. it's great to know that we are reaching farmers all the way as far as Zambia, and it's our dream to reach the whole of Africa. So to respond to your question on whether we are able to provide early warnings on weather, such as flooding, at the moment, we are not able to do that. So what we are able to provide right now is based on your farm's weather data. We are able to just predict for the next 5 days. And even for that, you need to log into the system and observe what you can expect. Unfortunately, right now, we are not able to send any alerts. So you would have to rely on local weather alerts to get informed on events such as flooding that may happen in your area. And we also provide you with historical weather data. So as far back as a year. So if you wanted to know, for example, what might happen in October, based on what happened last year, that is the kind of information we are able to provide you with through FarmCloud. And you can make a judgment based on the patterns you're observing from last year's data, whether the weather that is going to come in October is something you can rely on for your farm activities. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you
Can I
so
ask
much.
another question?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. When you are doing the projections on the expenses and budgets, maybe as you are expanding on your program, consider including entities that are found in Zambia, because this service that you are providing is what we lack at most. I can only see, entities that are coming from Malawi and thereabouts. So it's just a request that you may consider also extending this beneficial service you are providing to Zambia as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John, for that suggestion. And we are going to put that into consideration. And feel free to also reach out to us directly whenever you're using our system and you find that there is an entity you would like to use and the entity has not been listed yet, because Africa is a huge continent and it will take time before we can cover all of them. And we also rely on farmers' feedback and input to inform us who are the best suppliers and entities that they use for their services so that we can add them to the system. So we will do that, and feel free to reach out to us with any recommendations directly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, John. I'd love for if there might be anyone else who might have a question. Please feel free to raise your hand and we'll give you an opportunity to say something. Any other concerns from anyone? I'm not seeing any hands raised. John, okay, let me unmute. I can see, John, you've raised your hand. Let me.
Yes. My internet. Do you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Will I stay a beta forever? Will I move to premium, platinum, or something? Because I'm still just one owner and no worker yet. How will I qualify? I would have gone straight to any of the subscribed ones.
Okay, so the subscription, there's no qualification for the
Oh, okay.
subscription. It's entirely dependent on the number of users and the number of farms you have. Because on the
Okay.
free package, you're only allowed to have one user and one farm. So if by any chance you have more users and more farms, then yeah, feel free to let us know and we'll arrange the
All
subscription
right.
for you.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any other more questions. But Matt had mentioned that they don't have an account with FarmCloud. So Matt, I'd honestly urge you to kindly tap on the link that we had shared on the chat for you to do your registration and enjoy the benefits of FarmCloud. Okay, then probably maybe you guys can give us a thumbs up if everything is okay. Okay, perfect. I've seen a number of responses. So as you can see on the screen, that is the webinar code, webinar 50, whereby you'll get 50% off for the next 6 months. Please, 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 if you'd love to subscribe, please take advantage of this coupon. It will be highly beneficial and also cost effective as well. Yeah, a good chance for you to save on some change. Other than that, I'd love to thank my colleagues and participants as well. Thank you so much for joining our webinar, and I hope we'll see each other next month, same time, same day. Thank you so much.